seems legit.
Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are making a Lola with accents and embroidery. So the embroidery is from Urban Threads. These strap connectors are from my strap connector set. We've got a lot of fun stuff going on. So this is the vinyl that I've used for the accents and stuff. That's what it looks like full on. It's like a snakeskin multi-changing color thing. We went with gunmetal grey hardware. I've used a tectonic zip on the top just to give it a little bit more chunk. We've used the metallic zip as well, because why not? And then the inside, I haven't ironed the inside yet, but the inside is a dragon fabric. So I got inspired by the fabric to end up making the whole bag. So if you'd like to see how to make this, please stay tuned. Right, I've just eaten lunch, so excuse any burping that may occur. I do apologize. Right, so you saw that we're doing Lola. So I just want to show you how I've made my little accents. So this is the Lola template. This is the old style with the extra bit, but it works for me, so it's fine. So what I did was I took a piece of paper and I traced out the corner, and then I measured up how high I want the template, and then out how far I want the template, and then I've made a solid curve. But you could also kind of come out and down if you wanted it more straighter, or you could do kind of anything you want really. But that's how I made my little template, and so then you cut two that way and then two reverse so that they are all the same. But that's how I got to my template. I am yet to interface this. I will do it eventually. So with that said, let's go. Now my dragon here is from Urban Threads. This is a 5x7 hoop design, and you just put it in sideways. So if you've got a 5x7 hoop, you can do this bag. You can see it kind of looks a bit recessed. It's because I put the foam on and then embroidered it to give it that kind of that look. So it does actually sit in. It makes it look kind of cool and a little bit more 3D. If you don't like that look, you can just do it. So just embroider on the vinyl that I interface, because this is a thin vinyl, and then you would put the foam on at the end. That is your other option. So with the accents, they're a bit curvy, but they'll straighten out. It'll be right. I'm just going to put a piece of double-sided tape diagonally across here, and I'm going to do that to all four of them. And I'm going to start with the accents, because we all know I like to eliminate pieces where possible. And these are the easiest ones to eliminate. I had a couple of changing of mind when I was doing the strap connectors. I've ended up going with number 1 from my strap connector set. So I cut out 4 of those. I was going to do kind of recessed strap connectors, but again, changed my mind, because I thought these would look cool, and you'll see a little bit more of the accent of vinyl. I've also cut out a matching wallet for this, so depending on how I go today, I might even record it for you. So now that I've got this, I'm going to take off the backing. Oh, my bin's not there. That's not ideal. And then I'm going to line up all the edges like so. Okay, I'm going to get my bin and I'll be right back. Got my bin. I feel better now. So I'm going to stick all 4 of the accents on. It's nice not to make a mess. I had to move the bin because I was cutting things out earlier today. So there's the accents, and they're cool. This vinyl is from Spotlight. I don't know if they still have it or not. I bought it a while ago. I'm trying to get through all my stuff. So we're going to stick it on, matching up all the edges. And same with this one. I'm going with a green thread because of the vinyl. Just because I can, really. Okay. So I'm going to put my tub of stuff off the table so I don't knock everything out of the way. I am on stitch length number 4 with my green, and I'm just going to stitch 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And you might have to fold this up to get it under. These things do happen. And then just to make sure that it's going to stay where I want, whoops, there goes my white. I'm going to stitch 1/8 of an inch along this edge as well, just so that it is now one piece and it will be easy to stitch later. Now you can skip this bit if you've put enough double-sided tape on, but I very clearly did not. And I don't want it to shift, or I don't want to miss it. So that's one accent, and then you've just got like a nice little stitch line. I'm going to start here, stitch, back stitch. We always like to back stitch because it locks in our stitches. Needle down, pivot around. You notice I'm not going fast for this. I don't want to botch it. So the edge ones don't really matter, sewing around that edge, so long as it's within your seam allowance. However, it is good practice to do nice everythings. So that's my back piece. Let's do the front ones. Now I haven't actually decided, where am I going? Yeah. I haven't actually decided where I'm putting my strap connectors yet, because the embroidery will sometimes change that on a bag. So just keep that in mind. If you are embroidering a bag, I always suggest, and you want to try and make the bag, do the lining while the embroidery is happening, because you don't want to put strap connectors different on the front to the back. That would be weird. I could have also chain stitched these. I'm not sure why I didn't. Normally I would have just chain stitched one and then the other, but whatever. So going around, down, and again, this doesn't have to be neat, but it is a good practice thing, so you should try. And across the bottom, and that is now on. So, I'm going to take my bowl of stuff. I'm using gunmetal grey just because I felt like it. There was no other real reason. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some double-sided tape here, and that's going to both hold that down and then help me stick it on. So I'm just going to put a strip kind of down there. Do it to the others. I'm also using different zipper on the outside to the inside zipper pocket. For the outside, I'm using Tectonic because they're chunkier and heavier, and I think it's going to give it a nice look. And then the inside, I'm just using a basic chunky, which, funnily enough, is not as chunky as Tectonic, but whatever. So, we put the ring on, we peel the backing off, and put it in the bin. And then I'm going to fold it down like that. So it's holding the base down and it is organized. And I do apologize if you can hear my child yelling at the Nintendo. It's his latest favorite thing to do. So I'm just going to stick all... Oh, I forgot one. Of course I did. Double-sided tape is your best friend. And I know a lot of you ask me which double-sided tape I use. I don't actually have a favorite brand. I just buy whatever's available. So this one is the Express It brand from Spotlight, because it comes in a 50-meter roll. But with how many bags I do, that doesn't really last very long. So I usually buy them 2 or 3 at a time. And then when I get down to my last roll, I'll go and buy 2 or 3 more. So I've always got double-sided tape on hand, because my nearest Spotlight is like an hour's drive, which is not ideal. So, now that I've done that, this is how I'm going to work out my strap connectors. First things first, you need a ruler. And I always like to, this is just me, but I do it 1 inch in from this. Now, obviously this is the older version where it's got this, but I will do mine 1 inch in from there, if it's possible. Sometimes it's not because of my dragon. So I'm going to measure 1 inch, and I'm going to go, I don't want them too tall and I don't want them too short. No, I'm going to put them there. So this is 1 inch and 7.5 inches up, and I'm going to put the center at the edge. So I'm really only going 1/2 inch in, but it'll still work. So there. And then that way I'm not too close to the dragon, because I don't want to take away from how cool my dragon is. So I'm going to take the other one. And I'm going to sneeze. And then line that up there, like that. And so you always start with this side, obviously, because of the dragon, but that looks good. They're not too close to it that it's going to wreck it. In fact, this needs to move over just a smidgen. And you have to remember that the wings are not even, so that one is up higher than the other. That's fine. So this is where I'm going to put them. So I'm going to start with either one, doesn't really matter. I'm sticking to my size 4 stitch length, so I'm going to stitch, back stitch, go across the top, and then we have to go around the edge and down. So this is all nice straight lines, which is cool. Makes it a little bit quicker when it's all straight lines. And then I'm just going to trim off those tails. And I'll also be putting a rivet on these just to make them extra strong, because that's what I want to do. Pivot down to the point, back, and then final side, and then we're going to repeat this on the back now that we know what our measurements are. But that is now the front of the bag, and that just looks really cool. So you can see it's a color changing one, which is why the green thread works better than you'd think. So we're going to take our ruler, we're going to go up 7.5, and then there, and then take this and stick it under like so. If you want to, you can just do one at a time. I just did it before because I was trying to match it up with the embroidery, but now that I know what I'm doing, this side is much easier to line up. So if you're worried that it's going to move on you while you're doing your sewing, you can just do it this way. Trim those off like that, and then we'll do the other side. There, and then slide it under. And the easiest way to line it up is because the point goes in line with the ruler. That's how I'm getting such a easy straightness to it. You'll find your own way, but that's how I'm getting it done so quickly. Needle down, pivot, up, and the last one, and then back stitch. Lock all the stitches in, trim off all the tails, including the ones underneath, just because they'll annoy me later. So there we go, the back. Simple but effective, in my opinion. So now I want to add some rivets, which I forgot to grab. Grab out my little tubs of them. And a hole punch. This is a 2mm hole punch for anyone that wants to know that. And then I'm going to try and put it like right in the middle, just because I think that'll be cool. And the other one. So this is also going to add stability as well as look cool. Like that. then, oh, this is not the right die set. I've been doing my strumpet wallets with the rivet magnets because I like it. So it was the wrong one set in there, but that's all right. It doesn't take long to change. If you only have one of these and you don't want to interchange, punch all the holes for these as well as your bag feet, which I possibly should have done, but it's too late now. See, and then that's how it's going to look with the rivets. It's just going to add a little something. And again, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. So I'm just going to push the backs on, maybe. One. You can usually hear it clip, or you feel it kind of push all the way in. Then we're going to line it up, squish it down. Other side, line it up, squish it down. Beautiful. Now I won't be using one of my cool leather tags for these because I have embroidered my logo on the bottom of the bag. I mainly got those tags that you saw in my burrito video because I wanted them for wallets because my logo is a little bit big for wallets. Although I could just take the circle off and that would probably also solve my problems. We'll see. Right, so clip them on the back. Clip. Now if you want to, you can add the back zipper pocket onto here. I'm just not going to, but there is room for it here with a cool accent and stuff. I'm going to move these aside because that's also how I'm going to attach my handles later. Next in the box is the handles, actually. So I'm doing a fun accent. I had changed my mind. These are for something else. I had plans and then changed my mind, which I do quite often. So I was going to do a strip of accent to match the straps on those other things, but as you can see, it didn't quite work out that way. So we are going to take, I'm going to take off that sequin. Don't know where a sequin came from. Double-sided tape down the center. So this is a 2-inch piece by 24 inches because I find people that buy these bags like the longer handles so they can stick it on their shoulder. So the main size straps I do is 20 inches if people want them shorter, 24 is a standard, or 30 if they want like long shoulder straps. And I stick to those measurements for pretty much all bags, despite what the bag pattern may say. So I'm going to peel that backing off, and then we're going to fold both sides into the center. And you really want to crease this. Well, as you can see, it's just going to lift. You can kind of rub it on the table if you need to. You want to get a good crease because it is a stiff vinyl. There is no give in this at all. Another thing you can do is take a scraper and scrape along that edge to help crease those edges together. Like that. And I'm pushing quite firmly on that. It's not going to wreck it. We're just trying to get that crease so it doesn't lift. But I will only be doing one of these at a time because it will lift. Different vinyls have different levels of annoyance when it comes to this kind of thing. So then I'm going to take my little strip and it's going to stitch over there so that the strap perfectly matches the bag. That was the plan anyway. So line it up at the edge, stitch and back stitch. We're going to go nice and slowly. This top vinyl stretches. I can already tell you that it is slightly stretching. The only way to potentially stop that would be to use a walking foot, so switch to my other machine. But even then, I think it would still stretch. It's just a very stretchy vinyl. Like I can show you. So there, I don't know if you can see how much stretch is in that, but there is quite a lot for vinyl at least. This vinyl is not technically designed to make bags, but fabric doesn't get to tell me what to do. So I've just interfaced it for the exterior. So it's got the Vilene 1050F, which is my hefty, on the outside. And then I've put the bag foam on as well. So it's going to be nice and firm. Stitch, back stitch, and then I'm just going to swing it around and jump to the other side. And then stitch down this side. Now it's less likely to move. It's already done all its stretching and stuff on the first side. So I'm pretty good to just stitch it down. The first side always takes the longest. It's just the way it is. Also, the tail has got caught up, so I'm just pulling it out and then snipping it off. Then we're going to jump to this end, and we need to cut off that jump stitch there. We do the jump stitch because it wastes less thread and less time to have it there, but I am going to cut it off. And then, see how it's stretched? We're just going to chop that off as well. And so now, we've got this cool iridescent color changing strap. Now let's do the whole thing again. Don't be afraid to experiment with different vinyls. If you're worried about it, just buy 1/2 meter. See how it goes. Or if you go into a spotlight, you can buy like 30 centimeters. And if it doesn't work out, then you haven't wasted a whole lot. Because as you can see, I haven't picked easy vinyls to work with. They're both annoying in their own way. This one's super stiff and doesn't want to bend. The other one's constantly stretchy. I suppose it depends on your patience level. But if it's pretty enough, I will suffer through things. Just because it's fabulously pretty. So this blue one has actually a little bit of kind of a pearly metallicness to it, which is why I got it. If it was just a flat blue, I'd use my own. I'm really pushing on that to get that crease in. And it's really trying to lift on me. Look, see? If I let go, it's just off it goes. I almost wish I had got this color paint for my machine. I don't know how it would have come up in videos, but it'd be like pearlescent bluey green. It'd be very cool. Maybe one day I'll respray it. It has started coming off here. I knew it would. I should have put lots of coats of clear on it to prevent such things. Alright. In half. You also notice, see how it's not really super bendy either. It'll be fine as a handle though. It'll get there. So I'm going to line up the edge again. It actually doesn't matter if it hangs over a little bit, to be honest. You can just trim it off. And then I'm going to kind of just lay them both on top of each other roughly, and then use my fingernails to line it up properly as we get closer. And this is why I get fake nails. It's not just because they look pretty, because nobody sees them but you guys. It's because they're a great sewing tool. If I could grow my own, I would. It's not a thing. It's never been a thing. I have glorious hair and terrible nails. Get to the end, back stitch, pivot around, jump to the other side, and then off we go. So again, this side's always quicker. Back stitch, trim your tails, you know, the usual. Trim that off, cut your stitch. It actually doesn't super matter about the back one, but I just like to cut it for continuity's sake. I know it's there and it'll annoy me, but technically you wouldn't see it. So there's the second strap. See, it will bend. It's just going to be a stiff, standing up by itself kind of a strap. Right. So the bottom I did in the iridescent just because I could, and I have ironed on my base stabilizer, so you can actually see that there. Now it's time to put our feet on. I love Lola because it's quick and pretty. So if you ever like stuck for a gift, these are one of, because the outside's only 3 pieces. I always tend to put my feet at about the same width in at all edges, no matter what bag, because most bags are about this size. So I always do 1.5 inches from the longer edges, and I'll do anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 from these edges, depending on how long the bag is. But this one was 2.5. Just if you are wondering on those measurements, because I make them up. And I always do them the same. So we're going to punch the holes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So just where the lines intersect. Again, if you've only got one press, you could have done this earlier so that you don't have to keep switching it out. So now I'm going to take all of the posts and push them through. You can also put foam on your base. I know some people like that. Some people like a squishy base. I personally don't, which is why I don't do it. But each their own. Then I'm just going to push them on like that and squish them all down. Now, this is not a special anything, but you do want to make sure that the dome goes up, because this yellowy bit is like a rubber, so it will help prevent it from marking your domes. So while I don't buy a special set, you do need that for that reason. And so now my bag feet are on. And then I've got my logo on the bottom as well. Don't put your logo on the bottom if you don't plan on putting bag feet, because then that will sit in like a stain and water and it will soak up through the holes because we've punched holes in it. Oh, my child's here. Hold on. Right. So that is all the outside pieces done. We can now move on to the inside. Now I'm just doing one slip pocket. So I need one of my linings. This fabric is from a local quilt shop and she's not online, so I can't give you a link to that. Sorry. And I'm doing a waterproof canvas pocket because I didn't have enough of this fabric to do a matching wallet and the pocket. So because of that, we're doing it this way. Now to line it up, I'm going to find the center. And then I'm going to find the center of this one. Because we love the center of everything. It's just something that I do. Right, so then the half that we've drawn on, so if you fold it in half, the half that you're drawn on, this is a Tory pocket by the way, we're just going to line it up in line with the center and the center, and you want it to be slightly higher than here because that's the bottom of the bag. So when you've got it lined up, you grab some clips and just clip it where the two fabrics intersect so that it won't shift while I'm stitching. So that's enough there. Pop it under. Stitch, back stitch. Go along here. Now if I was recording this off, if I wasn't recording this, sorry, not if I was recording this off camera, that doesn't make sense. I would actually probably stitch this and the wallet at the same time. I do have it all cut out, but I would have done it in sections so that I'm just forever chain stitching, basically. Like, and I do all of these pockets at the same time because I have several pockets that get installed this way. There's 2 in the other one and 1 in this, or 2 if you put a second one on the outside. So now I'm going to cut that jump stitch so that it doesn't annoy me. It's very important to cut the jump stitch. Trim, open it back out. The bags always do take a little bit longer when I'm explaining it because I'm not going at full speed. I also never put, if I put movies on, I tend to get distracted by the movies. So if anything, I tend to put on music when I'm not recording. Alright, so we're going to fold that down and crease it. And because this is waterproof canvas, this should work. And I decided with a silver pocket instead of a blue one, just for something different. There was no other reason to it, except I thought something different would be cool. Now, if my zipper tape had have arrived, I would have used blue with gunmetal grey teeth, but it's still not here, which is very unfortunate. So I'm getting a whole bunch of new zipper colours. So I'm using a gunmetal grey zipper pull, but that doesn't mean I have to use gunmetal grey zip. I can use whatever. So I could do blue with a silver zip and then that on it. That would still look cool, but I don't like it for the outside. So in my tub of zips, this is my personal stash. I'm thinking I might actually go the metallic blue because that would be awesome. Especially on the outside. Like, it's not such a big deal on the inside, but I do want them to match, which is why I'm going to do both. But this will look fabulous on the outside because of its metallicness. And again, I have ordered more. It's still not here. Story of my life. Now, when cutting zips, always cut it with the back of your scissors so that if it blunts, it's only going to blunt the back bit and not the tip. So I'm going to split it, put one half on, then the other half on, and then push. Ta-da! And then this will be for the exterior. I can get rid of my Lord of the Rings bowl now because that can just go down there. So I always like my zips closing to the left, so that's how I'm going to sit it in front of me. And then we're just going to pop this on. Now there is a little bit of green in this fabric, which is why the green thread works. You can always change thread colors too. Don't be afraid to change colors throughout a bag. It could look really cool. As you can hear, my child gets very excited with the tablet. He's playing Sonic, I believe. Needle down, pivot down, across the zip. Now I'm going to finish off the bag inside here. So we're not going to shut the bottom. We are going to trim off that tail though. And then fold this down. And we're just going to do the two sides. So I line up that bottom, and then we're just going to stitch and back stitch down. And you can use whatever kind of seam you want there. You can have a bigger seam or a smaller seam. It's whatever you're feeling in the moment, to be honest. That one was 3/8. Sometimes I do a quarter, sometimes I do a half. So I'm going to unzip this. And make sure that you can put your hand through, because that's important. Right. So now I'm going to take the zipper tape, sorry. And I want this to be on the back wall. So I'm going to take the one without the dragon. Now because it's a curve, you will want to first cinch that zipper really quickly because, you know, that's super polyester and will explode and ignite and, you know, I don't feel like burning my house down. So just run it over quicker. And we're just going to clip this on. Now, a couple of options you can do. If you want to, you could put zipper ends on this and make it a bit shorter so that the zip doesn't run into the seam. Different people like different stuff. I like this way because it's quick and easy, but you can put zipper tabs on. One day I will do a Lola with it on just to show you. Not today because I haven't got it cut out. And I'm on a roll. And I don't know how long my child will actually be entertained for. So I'm going to chop off the zip there. Now normally this is like a big roll, but this is the end. So that bit will go in the bin. Anything shorter than 5 inches I don't keep. 5 inches work for pocket pals. So that's like 3.5. So that's done. but it's fine. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to push down the rings so that they are down out of the way. You don't want to accidentally stitch them. You will smash a needle and potentially put the timing out in your machine. So don't do it. So I'm going to clip the two ends so that they match up like that. And then we just move along and it should all clip in perfectly with each other like that. Now you can do it right side up or wrong side up, it doesn't matter. I'm going to start here and I'm going to go to a joining stitch length, which for me is 2.5, and I'm going to start here, stitch and back stitch, and then slowly work my way around. You want to pull off them as you go. If you do it slowly, you can kind of get a bit of a rhythm to that. Trim off the tails, put the clips away, go up to a 4 stitch length, and now I'm going to top stitch this to the vinyl. Now this gets tricky. Not everybody likes to do this step. I understand why, but it does look good, so try it. I'm going to stitch, and we're going to back stitch. Move the metal out of the way. It's a very slow process because you've got to bring it out underneath. Another option would be is to remove the foam from the seam allowance up here. Would make this bit go a bit quicker. But that requires me making another template, and who can be bothered? It's not that hard to do, honestly. It's a little bit time consuming, but that's about it. Back stitch at the end. So now, it's got a nice top stitch. Trim that off. Now, you can do this two ways. Different people have different opinions. You can just attach this to here and off you go. I like to make it easy for myself, so I'm going to separate the zip. Now, I know that freaks some people out. Please don't. It'll be fine, I promise. And then I'm just going to line up the zip and clip it on. Now you'll notice, so I don't have to lift it up, if you go and try and clip next to the other zip and then move down, you'll catch all your layers. So I don't know if you can see. So I go in there and then down to where I actually want to clip it. And it just stops me having to lift it up, and I can do it against the table. I don't think I've ever shown you that or consciously made an effort to tell you about it. I just do it. So now we want our front one, which is fabulous. I'm going to push them down so that they are out of the way. And then again, we're going to clip it. You want to line up the fabrics at both ends, because despite what it thinks, it does fit. We use the same pattern for everything. So unless you've used an interfacing that shrunk your fabric, which does exist, by the way. Alright, so then back to a joining stitch length of 2.5, and we're going to start at the edge. That gets better with practice, and if you always put your clips up the right way, you can just put your finger on them and they come off. Just if you're wondering how I did that so fast. Then we're going to go back up to a 4 stitch length, and then we're going to top stitch this bad boy. Stitch, back stitch, lock them in. And back stitch. Takes a little bit of extra concentration, and again, if you're super nervous about it, don't do it. but you should be fine. See? Beautiful. So now I'm going to take these and we're going to put them back together. So we want our zipper. Where's my zipper gone? Here it is. So I'm using the Tectonic ones. I call them Tectonic because it's like a moving plate. And I don't know. I was having a moment when I named them. Now, I'm going to use my zipper jig for this just because it's easier. So my zipper jig is a clamp that my husband has screwed a fork to. Because he's fabulous and makes me all kinds of fancy things. You can buy zipper jigs. It is a thing. So it's, you just put your zip in. Some people like to do it upside down. Not me. I actually don't think Tectonic is going to go in here. That's right, do it that way. We just need something to hold it while I feed the two sides in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this all the way through. So it will basically seal it off. Let's put this sideways and put it in that way. Maybe that'll help. Nope. The zip won't go in the zipper jig because of course it won't. So you can put in two halves. It just, because it's the curve, it's easier with a zipper jig, but it will mean that I won't get to have it. Actually, what I can do is you can grab any zipper for this. So I can just grab, I'm going to grab a Smooth Criminal and put that in there because that'll work. I know you can't really see. Hold on. Lift it up a bit. Right. So, Smooth Criminal is in. And because I've pushed it all the way back, now it won't shift and move around while I put in the two halves of my bag. This is the downside to completely separating this zip because it's a curve and stuff. But why is that stuck? Of course it's stuck. There we go. Right. So the bag is now back together. Now I want to put the zipper pull on. And of course it has to go on the end that had the issue because that's just the way my day's going. So put on one side. Maybe. And again, this would be super helpful if this particular zip would go into my zipper jig. But I'm just not that lucky apparently. So I'm going to move it so I don't stab myself. Usually I just keep it off to the side. I only bring it over. Like, it's handy that it's movable, but it's not necessary. It's only because I do videos that it is at all movable. There's one tooth there that was having a moment, so I'm just going to cut it off so it gets out of my way. And now, theoretically, this should just go on nice and easy. And again, it's just how my day is going. This morning I went to get a can of Coke to have some caffeine, and I ended up getting back home like 2.5 hours later with a lot of horse stuff. So I've got one side in. I'm just trying to get the other side in. Because one side is always wants to misbehave more than the other. It's just one of those unwritten rules, apparently. So once you've got them both in... Ta-da! Right, we got it on. There's also no bulges. You want to double check that there's no bulges each side of here. Because then you have to pull it off and redo it. But we're fine. So... I'm going to push this. I'm going to hold the zip so it doesn't, oops, it just split. Of course it just split. When that happens, this is how you fix it. We're going to bring it together and stitch it, maybe. Both sides split. Whatever. I'm not even caring at this point. So my zips come completely open, but it's not really going to affect how I make the bag anyway. So, we want clips. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to match up here with here so that my accent is perfectly aligned. And you want to put 2 clips on that to make sure it doesn't shift. Then you can come down and line up the edge, which all should match up, but you should always line up your accent first. Then I'm going to make sure that my zippers are being pushed towards the lining. And then I want to line up there. And then if you want to, you can add an extra one there. Then we're going to come down to here and we're going to line up the bottom first because they are the same size despite what anything twisty might say. Then we can just line up a few more like that. Same with this side. So I'm going to start with my accent. I want my accent to beautifully line up. And you need to remember that it needs to line up 1/2 inch in because that's where your actual seam allowance is. It doesn't matter if it lines up on the edge if it's not lining up slightly further in. So just keep an eye on that too. So there's all the sides. Then again, we're going to come down here, clip. You can clip it any way you like. There's no right or wrong answer. Now, when I stitch, I will always start on the foam and then come down to the lining. You always want to, it's harder for your machine to step up than it is to step down. So always start on your highest point and work your way down. Joining stitch length. Think about your seam allowance. We're going to stitch, we're going to back stitch. Now, you got to remember there's a lot of layers here, so I don't know if your machine can handle it. One can hope so. And then we're going to get to the zip here, put our needle down, lift up our presser foot, and continue down on that angle with our seam allowance. And then when you get to the end, back stitch. Now, if you don't do the right seam allowance, your base isn't going to fit. So now I'm going to flip it over so that, again, I can start up here. And you'll notice that I've made it so my clips are still facing the right way. I've made this bag enough to know that your clips will actually look upside down one to the other. But when you're stitching it, it'll work out fine. So again, we're going to come to here, needle down, presser foot up, pivot, seam allowance, and off we go. Oh, and I just ran out of bobbin thread right at the pivot, or right before the pivot. It's not super ideal, but here's one I prepared earlier for such occasions, because I just knew. Also, because I want to make a matching wallet. I'm doing strumpet because I like making strumpet, and apparently my customers like buying strumpet, so everyone's a winner. So I'm just going to go back a few stitches and then stitch and back stitch because that'll lock in the old set as well as the new set. And then we're going to get to there and we're going to pivot and then off we go. And back stitch and trim. And then you've got to come and trim all of your tails. You'll have 2 sets. And these ones over here because apparently I missed them too. Excellent. I'm going to take my base and I'm going to attach it to the opposite side to where the zipper pocket is. And I'm just going to do that one side because that's where we're going to turn the bag through, and this is the easiest way I've found to do this. So we're going to stitch, we're going to back stitch. Like so. Trim off that tail. Now let's put in this base. I want it to go that way. So I'm going to actually clip the base because the base likes to fight me more than the lining does. And your true middle point should line up. I found my middle point because of the embroidery I did. Alright, so we're going to do that. We're going to line it up. We're going to stitch. We're going to back stitch. We're going to back stitch at the other end, trim off those tails. Then we're going to do the other side. And yes, I'm aware I didn't do this to the lining. There is method to my madness. You need to trust my process. Because this bag's got a lot of stiff foam, it will be easy to turn out through the whole lining rather than a small section through a zipper pocket. So this is why I'm doing it this way. And that's going to fight me quite a lot. So you'll notice I put quite a lot of clips on there. This is a very firm vinyl, and it's got the base stabilizer, so it's kind of like it's keeping the bag up and open all by itself because it's trying to fight me. So when that happens, you need to make sure that you put enough clips on so it stays lined up while you're sewing. And backstitch. And trim the tails. So now we're going to do this edge. So you want to open this seam out flat so that it's less bulky. So you want to open that out like that and put a clip on it. You also want to put a strong clip. So I've got basic clips, and then I've got like extra strong ones, which are my purple Clover brand, I think. So the purple one goes on the thick part. Lined up. Again, more clips. Oh, there's one. Add some clips. Some more clips. I put 5 clips on the short ends. And you can put more. But I just want to make sure it doesn't move. So then you can stitch it 2 ways. I actually prefer to stitch it this way, so I'm not sure why I put my clips on wrong. That was my bad. Sometimes I stitch it this way. You can squish it down and go that way. But because this is very, very stiff, I'm going to do it this way. I could also go to my cylinder arm machine because I've got one. That would probably be what I would do in this particular situation right now because it's fighting me a lot. So, under we go. We're going to stitch. Ugh. That sounds like it just broke something. Nah, it sounds, the thread's off. I can hear it. Yeah, see, it's stuck. I could hear that my thread was misbehaving. Made a nice big knot. It also messed up a whole bunch of, see the tension in here is all gone? They went all fluffy on me. Hate it when it does that. At least it wasn't the whole thing. Sometimes it does the whole spool and that drives me nuts. That's just because it's thick and awkward and these things happen. Just thread it again and off we go. If it's not going to let me do it that way, I'll do it this way. Whatever's going to work at this particular... Oh, now the top come unthreaded because I didn't have enough tail. I swear it's not normally this difficult to sew. I do not have this many dramas normally. Pull up the tail. Swipe them back. Right, push. Let's do this. And then I'm just going to lift up. I'm not going to back stitch because I can already tell that's going to be a painful experience. And all my clips came undone. Of course. Right, so this vinyl is just being stubborn at this point. Like, screw you, vinyl. I am having more success doing it this way than the other way, so that's nice. And backstitch. Right. It got there in the end. This end, however, the stitches let go, or the clips let go, because they're jerks. So I just need to bring it back and clip it again. And if you need to use more clips like I currently am, so be it. Right? A lot more clips in a lot smaller space. It will work. I will make it work. Just squish the whole bag down out of your way. Can't hurt it. You still have to turn the bag inside out. So no matter how much squishing I just did, it still needs to happen. Thread came unthreaded again because I didn't leave enough tail, and it's just being stubborn at this point. We were doing so well. So this is because the vinyl, that metallic-y color changing vinyl, is really stiff, and so it's just messing with stuff. These things happen. I'm not going to let it wreck my day, and I'm not going to give up on the bag. The bag's going to look fabulous. It's only one little area that's been a jerk. So I am going to stitch back over that area at the other end that we did earlier. Slowly, because it's quite thick there. And then back stitch. Nothing defeats me. Right, where's all my scissors? I'm going to take my vinyl cutting scissors and I'm just going to hack at those corners. Get rid of some of the cornerness. And some of that excess there as well, because that's bulky and I don't want it there. In fact, you can take away some of this bulk too. It will help your lining to sit flatter. Just take away all the bulk, really. Right, in the bin. Now we get to turn the bag out the right way. So, first thing you can do is just bring this over. Keeping in mind that our zipper's got some issues right now. Turn the bag through. Now again, stiff vinyl, this could be tricky. We're getting there. I know it just looks like a big jumbled mess, and it kind of is. But it's getting there. I'm keeping myself hand to fist so that I don't hurt my fingers with this as well, because it's super thick. But look how nicely, that's the accent. Look how beautifully that lined up. It's the small wins in life, people. So again, this is the curse of using stiff vinyl. I could have saved myself a lot of this heartache if I had have just put the normal vinyl on the bottom, but that's just not who I am. I'm going to take my turning stick, but I'm going to use the blunter end of the two, because it's still not all the way out. Push that corner out. Then you can flip the stick. So again, see how that corner's kind of all stuffed in? You want that all the way out before we even think about shutting the other end. Bring all of that out. And my accent, and then again, bigger end of the stick. You can even push it on the table so that you've got kind of more leeway. Aha! Run your flatter end of your flute cleaner along the seam and it will help pull it all out, even this very stubborn corner. See? Look at that. I'll get there in the end. Alright. So now I'm going to... Nope, still going to push that seam out a little bit more. There we go. So I'm going to take that seam and Tory squish it before I seal the bag, in case I have to stick something in there again. Alright, and then that should sit. See how it's now going to sit beautifully? Whereas the front, see how the front's not sitting nice? See how it's kind of got this curve going? You need to Tory squish it. Now you can't be too rough with this, so I'm pushing back and forth like this really roughly. No such thing as too rough, because if it can't handle this, it can't handle people putting stuff in it. But see how that's, see that? Better. Much better. All right, let's do this bottom. So we're going to stick our hand into the zipper pocket, and we're just going to pull all of the lining through. The whole lot. Like so. And put away my turning stick. Right, so this is why I like the older version, because it's got the little kind of accenty points. So we're just going to line up that other straight edge from edge to edge and stitch it. Now, if you need to, put some clips. Me and lining are usually pretty friendly. We don't need clips. It'll do what it's told for the most part. There's obviously always an exception to that rule, but this one's fine. And it may feel like you're cutting on a curve. You're not. It's just the way it is, because it's attached to a bag. So then we're going to do this edge here. So this one I'm going to do right sides up. So we're going to stitch. I'm going to open that out flat. We're going to go around. I'm just going to line it up as I go. I don't know why, but lining is just friendly like that. And then we're going to do the other side as well. And then we can push the whole lining back through the bag. So essentially just ignore the bag part at the moment. I am. And back stitch. Lift up, clip, and then we can push the whole lining back in. And if you want to check it, you can. So I always stand up and just push it down. That's beautiful. So now we just need to seal off your pocket. So I just tuck the raw edges in, and then I can just finger crease this because it's waterproof canvas. If you don't want to do that, you can of course add pins or clips. Stitch, tails, shove it in. Now I did a silver pocket just to kind of lighten it up because the inside of the bag is quite dark. But I could have done blue. It wouldn't have made a difference really. There we go. So now the zip's completely shut. And that's what we've got. So I can flick all these back up. And then we're going to do our handles. So I want my Rivet Spacing templates because it's just easier. And I flip them to the back. I'm just going to do singles. So I'm going to do up half, or up 2 spots, which is half an inch, and then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go into the 5th hole. So line it up on the edge. We're going to go 2 if it wants to draw on it, which apparently it does not, and then 2, 4, and then the 5th hole. Same with this one. 1 and then 2, 4, 5th hole. I'm actually doing single rivets, not doubles, because this one's only got 1 and I want it to match. Could have done doubles. Could have done a lot of things, really. Could also add strap ends if you want to. You could also add a tassel. In fact, I might do a tassel yet. Who knows? Alright, hole punch. So again, if you've only got the 1, you could have done all this at the same time as earlier. And now that I've pre-done all the holes, I personally find it that much easier than trying to loop it around here and put holes in it that way. but that's just me. So, rivets. As you can see, I always keep a pretty healthy stash on me of all colors. And then we're going to go in and up. And then I'm going to put a cap on. And then I'm going to squish it. Like so. So then I'm going to have it facing down like this. I'm going to bring it around and up and in. Now if I had done the handles the other way, I definitely would have done strap ends. Because when you can see it from the outside, I personally think strap ends are the way to go. But this way, it doesn't matter as much. Also use strap ends if you're using a fraying fabric, because then you won't see it fray because it's stuck in the strap end. But that's the handle. How fun does that look? It matches the bag perfectly, I think. Oh, I could be wrong. But the metallic sparkle that I'm getting from the zip against the dull kind of metallicness I'm getting off this, it's really working. Sometimes too much is not a thing. This has got a lot going on for it, but I think it still works. Pick one up, that might help. Slot it in and on and cap. And we are done. Let me just move all this. I still need to Tory squish this edge. I can see it. But how cute is that? So the back's just nice and plain, and sometimes plain is good. But the handles look great. Everything kind of matches in. And that's my Lola. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you learned something today, or I inspired you to go make another one of these because you've had the pattern tucked away for a while. Or embroidery. I love embroidery. Why have a machine if you don't use it, right? Pull it out, do something fabulous. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.